Hello everyone, welcome back to another daily Marvel Snap video. We neglected Sulky Hulky a little bit this week. This last set of daily mission refreshes just barely got us to 35. We almost had to reset and use some of our gold to reset the missions to be able to hit this max bonus. So we ended last season at rank 90. I'm going to go ahead and play the clip now. Alright everyone, just a quick update. We have 9 minutes left on the season. We have a season cash to claim, which we're playing Lockjaw this week. You can't. I'd be so excited about that variant on our main account, let alone our free-to-play account. We're playing Lockjaw this week. It doesn't matter what we draw. Lockjaw is our pull 3 card. And then in addition to that, I really didn't anticipate a variant there. We have 9 minutes left, but we do have a real quick update. We reached rank 91, and since that is the last rank to get any kind of currency, we went ahead and stopped there. We didn't continue the grind. We went ahead and tweaked a couple of things on some of our other videos. But we are going to go ahead and claim the 500 credits and the 500 gold, which gives us quite a bit of gold. We are going to save that until we figure out what they're doing for the next freemium type of model. And so yeah, I will see you guys in the next season. I just wanted to do a quick clip as the season ended. We ended the last episode at collection log level 563. We've accumulated quite a bit of credits, quite a few credits. We still have quite a few to claim. And then we ended with 1,150 gold. We are now currently, I believe, at 1,800. And so even for being fairly neglectful of Sulky this week, we have made some decent progress. I'm honestly really afraid that we're going to pull Mystique before we do on our main account. And I feel like it's going to happen this week. And this is the last day for the weekly mission, so we needed to record this today, even though it's not going to be aired for a couple of days. Okay, so we made enough space to claim the 500 credits, the 100 gold, the season pass XP. We are now going to claim our rank rewards. Since we ended last season at rank 90, we went back 3 full tiers to rank 60. And so after playing 6 games, we're able to claim all of the rewards from before rank 60, and so we get quite a few credits. We have hold please. Okay, so we went ahead and spent about another 700 credits just to make sure that we'll have enough. So we got 300, 250, 200 credits, and 100 credits. So we got plenty of credits. We still have a couple of tiers that we can boost up to with our rank to get more rewards. We can get 500 more gold, which we got last season, which really helped propel us up to almost 2,000. Then we can get 500 more credits at rank 80. And so we're going to go ahead and claim our season pass boosters, and then we're going to go on a spending spree. We have 4,850 credits to spend, and then we'll be right back. Oh my gosh, finally, it's the final upgrade. Do I look older? I feel older. That took at least 20 minutes, if not more. We spent all of our credits, absolutely all of them. We were down to 0. Anything that we get back from season caches, from mission completions, from the reserves, we're done. We're done for the week. We don't need to pull any more. We did use most of our boosters, so we might be able to make it through next week without really grinding. But after that, we are going... Nobody sees those 50 credits we didn't claim. But after that, we are going to probably have to grind for some boosters. Now, you may ask, why am I holding my gold? Why am I not refreshing my daily missions to get more credits? What are we doing? So right now, we don't know where the free-to-play monetization is going to fall. We don't know what the replacement for Nexus events is going to be. And so because of that, oh my God, and then we get Dracula. What is Sulky Hulky's luck? So Dracula is one. Oh, this took us forever to pull on our main. Oh my gosh, Sulky Hulky is unmatched. But until we have an idea of what that new monetization style is going to be, and if it is going to be a good gold sink or not, then I'm just going to hold my gold until then. And then after that, we can adjust and we can spend the gold how we need to. Okay, then we get Mysterio, which is a good zoo type deck card. And because we got the really cool Lockjaw variant, that is what we're going to be playing with this week. But I still wanted to pull our cards. Okay, Yellow Jacket. Okay, we're cooling off a little bit. We're cooling off, so that is okay. And then we get our power level is unmatched. This is Guys, if we pull, the only thing really missing now is that we pull Mystique. Okay, so Patriot. If we pull Mystique as well, we can do a Patriot deck, like a full-on Patriot deck before we can on our main account. Let's hope that that doesn't happen. And then Human Torch, fantastic move card. Like, we're dodging all of the bad cards except for Yellow Jacket. And we're getting some really solid pull 3 cards. Okay, Omega Red. It's not bad. And then the last one is credits. Okay, so we live to fight another day. We did get back up to 1,100 credits. I'm not spending them this week. But taking a quick look at our new pull 3 cards, we got Dracula, Mysterio, Yellow Jacket, Magneto, Mr. Negative, Patriot, Human Torch, and Omega Red. Nuts. Absolutely nuts. And that's on top of the Lockjaw, Crystal, Ghost Rider, Goose, Beast, Invisible Woman pulls from last week. Like, our pull 3 cards are phenomenal. If we had Thor, we'd have pretty much the entire makings of a cycle deck. Oh my god, just nuts. Absolutely nuts. And I remind you, the Lockjaw variant is not the only one that we've gotten. We got Spectrum as well, which is a fantastic looking card. But with that being said, we are going to go ahead and jump into a deck build around Lockjaw. So I'm going to go ahead and draft a deck with all pull 1 and 2 cards besides Lockjaw, and then we will be right back. All right, so we did end up drafting a deck list, and it feels very so without testing it out, it feels very okay. So we have some decent power pushes in our Infinite, our Hulk, our Chavez, and our Iron Man to be able to be flipped into. With Lockjaw, we don't want any cards that are just going to tank our board. So we don't want to push an early game and have something like an Ebony Maw, because that is going to lock down that lane, and it's going to stop us from being able to drop additional cards. And actually, I'm going to change the Groot for a pull 2 Vision. We're dropping Vision for a very similar reason to why we have Nightcrawler. So with Lockjaw, if we flip into Nightcrawler, if we flip into Vision, we want to still be able to flip more cards. And so Vision, we're going to be able to move out of the Lockjaw lane. Nightcrawler, we're going to be able to move out of the Lockjaw lane. This will be good for locations that are locked down maybe by Storm, or maybe a Sanctum Sanctorum where we can't naturally play cards. We'll be able to move these out of the Lockjaw lane, out of the cycle lane, and into a better, more strategic position. And so I call the top half early game, the bottom half late game. So we are wanting to ideally draw into our early game cards. We can drop maybe a Sunspot until we draw into Lockjaw. Then ideally we can either drop a Jubilee, which will flip Jubilee and the card, and it'll pull a card out of our deck as well. If we flip into Storm, that's fine. We can flood the board with our 1-cost cards. We have some pretty decent flexibility in this deck list, as long as we don't draw into all of our high-cost cards early. And then even if we do, we should still be able to cycle a decent amount of cards. We can get some upside in things like cycling Iceman, having it trigger twice, cycling Rocket, having the on-reveal trigger twice. Worst case scenario, we can skip turn 5 if we had Sunspot on the board, and then we can drop Infinite naturally onto the board for a big power push that oftentimes will trick a bot and allow you to snap and get 8 cubes. And so running through the deck list really quickly, we have Sunspot as a way to drop a card if we don't spend our energy efficiently. He's going to continue to buff up and grow over time. We have Iceman, who is a pull 2 1-cost card that when played, give a random card in your opponent's hand plus 1 cost. So this is going to be phenomenal to slow down their curve if they are playing a curve style deck. Like, let's say that this hits Professor X. Professor X becomes really difficult to use because you don't really want to use it on turn 6. You want to use it to lock down a lane early, then push a big power play on your 6th turn. We have Nightcrawler, who is an average powered 1-cost card, but he's going to be able to move once. So this is going to be good to relocate, to be able to pull out of our Lockjaw lane if we cycle into him, or just to maneuver strategically. We have Rocket Raccoon, who if your opponent played a card here this turn, plus 2 power. If we play this into a Lockjaw lane and the ability triggers, and then we cycle it into our deck, we have the chance to play this again to make a 6 power 1-drop card, which is pretty solid. And then we have the beautiful, ugly, scary, the goodest of boys, Lockjaw. When you play a card here, it's going to swap with a card in our deck, and that is the entire idea behind this deck list. Pushing out a lot of power, more power than you honestly should, onto the board by cycling your low-cost cards. We have Storm as a way to lock down a location. Storm is going to stop the opponent from being able to play cards there, and we have move style cards in our Vision and our Nightcrawler that will allow us to push power into that lane after it's already been locked down. We have Jubilee, who is a great card to play with a Lockjaw, because when you drop Jubilee in a Lockjaw lane, it will cycle the Jubilee, and Jubilee on reveal still triggers, so it still pulls a card out of your deck. We have Iron Man, who is just a great late game power enabling card, allowing you to double whatever power you have in that lane. We have Vision. So Vision is going to be able to move each turn, and so if you flip into him, let's say on turn 4, he's going to be able to move on turn 5 and on turn 6, so that you can readjust and maneuver him strategically wherever you need that power for that final turn. We have Chavez, who acts as a deck thinner. She's going to allow us to draw into our Lockjaw a little bit earlier, plus she's one of the highest power 6 cost cards that we have currently, or that is in pull 1 and pull 2. We have Hulk, who is just the biggest stat stick from pull 1, who's going to be pretty decent to flip into or just play naturally if we don't have a better play line. We have Infinite, who is a pretty difficult card to use normally. He's a card that you can trick bots with, and if you flip into him, you pretty much win that lane. So some pull 3 cards that we unlocked that would be pretty decent for this deck list. Mysterio, you can drop Mysterio, you can drop the real token in a different lane, and then the token will actually cycle with your Lockjaw, and so you can get a 5 power card out on the board for 2 cost and still have a cycle for some pretty decent upside. Magneto is also an amazing card for your Lockjaw lane. It's going to either move and adjust the opponent's cards around the board, or it's just a big high power stat stick. And so that is the rundown of the deck list. Of course, there are upgrades that can be made as you get deeper into pool 3, but as we are right now, with just a Lockjaw, if this is your first unlock, this large minion deck is still going to be pretty viable and pretty solid all the way throughout. And so with the general rundown of the deck list out of the way, we are going to go ahead and jump into a few games. I'll see you guys there. All right, so first up we have Anborn. We're still in the phase where we're seeing a good mixture of bots, but we're also starting to see human players. So that's a really good sign for us being able to run some like standard style decks, because sometimes what's good in standard is not great against bots, and vice versa. And so it's good that we're starting to get a good mix that's going to allow us to get some better gameplay, to just get more exciting content on the account. I don't think we drop Rocket Raccoon here. We're looking to push high power. And unfortunately, we did draw into 2 of our big units, but we have 2 of our small ones as well. Actually, we drew into 3 of our large units. Very unfortunate. And I feel like we need to go ahead and drop our Sunspot, especially if we're going to be passing. And then maybe on 4, we drop Jubilee, depending on what it looks like or what we pull into. Maybe we skip on 5, and then that way we absorb the energy here and we can play an Infinite. Maybe that's enough. I mean, maybe not, but we can be hopeful. And so if we're going to drop an Infinite, I think I want to try to win Dream Dimension. And then we can play Infinite wherever we need to. And so it pulls into Chavez, which is good. All right, so they ended up discarding their Hela. So we're gonna go ahead and snap off of that. Just an easy way to make someone retreat if they haven't already, is if they discard Hela. That's pretty much their entire deck build, and it makes it really hard to consistently push any kind of power out onto the board. All right, so next up we have Neds, and in our starting hand we do have a couple of good cards to cycle. We could play them on the board naturally, that's fine, but I would rather cycle them in, try to pull out our Hulk, our Vision, our Iron Man through Lockjaw. That way we can get a big upside from that rotation tool. That's definitely not going to end up being in the miniaturized lab, unfortunately. So we're gonna go ahead and pass this turn as well, and then we're actually gonna have 3 cycles on turn 4. So if we can avoid drawing into a big unit, so maybe we can draw into Storm here, or Jubilee, that would make all of our rotations incredibly valuable. So they throw down a Mysterio, which is pretty unique. It creates 2 Mysterio tokens. If you have a Patriot, which it looks like they may be running a Patriot style deck, Patriot will buff up both of the tokens, and so you'll get some good upside. Oh, and we draw into Storm here, so just beautiful. Ideally, we would have liked to not have played into Kunlun. That way, when we draw into Vision, when we pull Nightcrawler, we can move them over and they'll get that +2 power buff. But since Murder World is on the board, we're not going to play our Lockjaw there. We can't play into Miniaturized Lab because it's locked down right now. So our only option is Kunlun, and it doesn't make sense to pass pass an additional turn instead of putting out the power that we have the energy to do. And so we do draw into vision, unfortunately, but we're going to be able to do some pretty cool, if they play a card here, Rocket's going to get buffed up and then head back into our deck. Iceman is going to trigger, make one of their cards cost 1 additional energy, and then Nightcrawler is going to switch back into our deck as well. We have all of our rotations in full effect. And in our deck list, we still have our Hulk, we have Chavez, we have Iron Man to make an incredibly big lane. And then it may be that we just skip on 5 so that we can drop Infinite naturally on 6 to swing one of the other lanes. So we did draw into Chavez, huge. If we draw into, okay, Jubilee's probably the worst pull if we're capping out the lane, because then she can't pull a card in. But otherwise, we did get Iron Man, so we have a 24 power lane still. And so they're not able to play cards here. I think we do pass this turn, because I think even if we played Vision and then moved him over, if we drew into and dropped Hulk next turn, that's not going to be as good as just skipping and then dropping Infinite. Especially knowing that they're not, okay, and they have a Brood, which is going to create 2 Broodlings. And so then they can drop Patriot. It's going to give all of their tokens plus 2 power, but that's not going to be enough in Kunlun. And it's definitely not going to be enough in Miniaturized Lab. So we should snap off of this, but in terms of trying to get a full gameplay, have it go all the way through, we're not going to snap. We don't want to scare them off, but we are going to just naturally drop the Infinite. The Lockjaw did fairly well. The only bad pull that we got was Jubilee, but otherwise Iron Man was great, Chavez was great. Now that worries me a bit. So they snapped. We're going to go ahead and snap back. Whenever they snapped, they took what we set off the table. If we end up losing, that's a lot of power for them to push here. Victory. They baited us into the old snapperoo. We did get 2 cubes off of it. We could have gotten 4. So far 2-0 with our new cycle rotation deck, and it's up against human players. So really exciting for Sulky Hulky. We're going to be able to play some of those mid-range collection levels and really make use of our pool 3 cards versus if we're just playing bots every time. All right. So next up we have K Berg, I think is how that would be pronounced. It has the 3 in the middle. We have some of our low-cost cards. I think what we're going to do is we're going to play our Sunspot into this 3rd location. I don't know why I like playing into the unknown so much lately. I think it's just I think it's a phase. I think it's something that we'll grow out of. But so far it's been okay, and especially with something like Sunspot, it can grow over time. We didn't want to put it into Monster Metropolis because if we do pass turn 5 to drop turn 6 Infinite, Monster Metropolis is going to be huge for that. We're going to be able to get an additional 3 power. We're going to be able to pull it from them, and it's going to serve us pretty well. And then since we have Kunlun here, or since we have a Sunspot in Kunlun that can grow over time, I think we go ahead and drop our Storm. That is going to lock out this location after 1 more round of play. And so then if we do need to skip on 5, if we need to skip on some other turn, we have that option. Do we go ahead and play our Jubilee here, knowing that we don't really have any other big cards? And if we pull into a Rock that's pretty bad, I think we're just going to play Rocket here, and then let Sunspot grow up a little bit. It's that time. He's getting that age where he just needs to grow up. He just needs to take responsibility for his action. We're going to go ahead and do that. Oh, they didn't play anything into the flooded lane. Ooh, interesting. And they have a Wong. We picked the Wong opponent, my friends. So they could have something like a Doombot. They could have Gambit. They could have so many pretty powerful cards. So we are going to play both Jubilee and Nightcrawler here. We can always move Nightcrawler over into the flooded lane. Oh, we messed up. So they drop an Iron Man into Monster Metropolis, which is not great for us. We do hit the Chavez upside. So that is pretty good. Oh, this is a tough one. So if we move Nightcrawler out, we will still have 13 power. If they invest resources there, that's okay. They would have to invest some mid-range resources. They'd have to invest some resources here. Do we go with the Hulk, which is a guarantee, or do we go with 2 rotation flips? So looking at what cards we have left in our deck, we have Iron Man. Wouldn't be great if it's the only one that got pulled. We have Vision. Again, not great if it's the only one pulled. It's okay though. Then we also have our Iceman and then our Infinite and a bunch of rocks. I think it's more advantageous for us to drop our Hulk If they have a Dr. Doom, we're going to lose regardless, because this would be 5 power. They'd push 10 more power here, 20 more power over here. So it's just a risk we're going to have to take. So we are going to drop our risk into our Hulk into Subterranea. They do an Enchantress, which cancels out the ongoing ability, so Wong, for whatever reason. But it's not able to touch our Hulk because they split their power to come up over us in Monster Metropolis. They couldn't invest as much power or resource into Subterranea. We were luckily able to pull out that win. All right, so next up we have Slorhog. And in our starting hand, we have our Sunspot, which is going to be pretty decent to drop onto the board because most of the time we're going to pass on turn 2. Just with the way we designed this deck, we primarily want to be cycling our cards with Lockjaw instead of dropping our 1-cost cards onto the board. And so we are going to go ahead and skip here. Next turn, we might do something like a Storm, maybe an Avengers Compound, maybe we do it into... I'm not going to do it, guys. This is on the free-to-play account, so I can read it correctly, the Bifrost. On our main account, we never read that location correctly because the first time it came out, we butchered it. Absolutely butchered it. We're gonna play into the Bifrost here. No rhyme or reason necessarily. It's just we wanted to play it into either Avengers Compound or this lane. Ooh, so they limit us to 1 card per turn now, which is really unfortunate because then Elysium comes out and reduces the cost of all of our cards by 1. But that's okay because we can do a Vision here, which is going to be able to move every turn so we can readjust him as needed. We can also do a Hulk on turn 5 into the Avengers Compound. They play a Mr. Fantastic, which pushes power out to the sides. I think that's okay. I think we're still going to be able to come up over it with our Vision. And then we do want to play Hulk here on turn 6. We know that we're going to draw into Chavez naturally. This is one of those games where unfortunately we're not going to be able to cycle. This Sandman just kind of puts us in too tough of a position. Ooh, and then the leader play was huge as well. Oh boy. So now we have a choice to make. They might have us here, guys. So if they use Odin, if they're running an Odin and they use Odin into the Avengers Compound, that's pretty sleek, pretty sneaky, but leader would re-trigger. So the only thing that I can think of to counter that is if we drop Jubilee, that will copy our Jubilee. They'll pull a card out of their deck. And then at least we have a chance of coming up over their power level. And then we're gonna gain 3 energy here by only dropping Jubilee. So I think so we'll be tied as long as what we pull is better than whatever they drop or what they pull with their Jubilee. Then we should be fine in this scenario. We're going to go ahead and lock that in. We're going to leave our Vision where it is. It is an Odin. So we did get the read correctly. So they use a Jubilee. It pulls into White Tiger. Oh my gosh. Defeat. Hey everyone, Future Me here. I was editing and I realized that there was a huge misplay here. And so I did want to run it back. I have a still image of that last moment of that last game. So our read was that they were going to play an Odin into the Avengers Compound or mid to re-trigger leader. If that was true, all we had to do was play a card into the Avengers Compound. So our Chavez into Avengers Compound. Vision, which they were not competing for the flooded lane. We could have moved Vision out. Regardless of how this was going to turn out, we could have moved Vision. If we had moved Chavez here and then stacked Vision as well, anticipating the Odin, which was 8 power, we could have added the 7 prior to any of the cards played, which would have made us 18, and then we could have dropped Chavez, which would have been 1 power. It would have given us a 2-point lead in the Avengers Compound. Their leader wouldn't have been able to copy anything because their lane was capped out, and it would have given us the win. Sometimes you are going to get so caught up in the read or where to play that you're going to miss the simple plays. It's just learning from them and kind of growing from them that will help you progress overall or over time. All right, so Past Me is going to take it away now. All right, so next up we have Fabian, and Fabian might be a bot. And I'm going to be completely honest with you guys. We started out with this deck list really, really strong. We won 3 in a row. We're feeling pretty good. And then we lost 2 to very, very close matches. Like the closest matches I've had on this free-to-play account so far. I don't think I'm going to showcase all of them, maybe 1. But then we lost against a bot last turn. And so then now we're fighting for our lives, guys. We're fighting. We are 50% win rate with this deck so far. But it very well could have been if we played just a little bit differently. It could have been closer to only having one loss, but it's just those games came out so incredibly close. And they drop a squirrel into Jotunheim, which is very bot-like behavior. The black and white variant of Groot that got discarded also confirms it, but Jotunheim is going to be easier for us to win because they're going to lose power there each turn. So what we're going to do is we're going to drop our Jubilee this turn. That's going to flip into another card. It's also going to pull a card. We have both Chavez and Iron Man that we could hit here, which would both be pretty decent. If we hit Chavez or if we hit Iron Man, we're also going to have to drop a pretty high power card to kind of come up over that power level. Vision is also a good option for us here, and Nightcrawler, so we can actually move both of these out. We can move both of these out, and Vision's going to be able to move every single turn, so we don't have to worry about that. We can then drop Jubilee and Iceman. Actually, we're going to go Jubilee and Rocket here, and then we're still going to be able to move Vision wherever we need to. We're going to cycle again. Ooh, no, we're not going to cycle Rocket. Rocket is going to stick because we're going to pull the last card in our deck, which is Chavez, from our Jubilee here. When they drop a Vision of their own, okay, and so it all comes down to being able to win a couple of the locations. And right now we have a clean slate here. We could do something like moving Vision over. We could then drop a Hulk. That gives us the win in all 3 lanes currently. And then if they invest big power here, they'd have to do more than a Vision. They'd have to do 9 power because of the sewer system. They'd have to invest 9 power here. And then if they move their Vision out, they'd have to invest a lot of resources here to come up over us and win. And it might even be better not to split our power and keep Vision here. But just in case they drop a big unit here and they move their Vision over, we want to kind of spread that power, especially against a bot. Okay, and so we did finally get our last victory. It was against the bot, but we are going to go ahead and end it on that one. I hope that you guys enjoyed this video. Overall, the deck list feels pretty good. It feels competitive, but they're going to be close games. You're going to have to really fight for those wins against those human players that are running some pretty decent pool 3 or early pool 3 decks. But overall, it feels pretty solid. I'm going to give the goodest of boys the best chance I can. I'm going to run him, see what we can end up with next week, and then we will be back with another Sulky Hulky episode. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, make sure to leave it a like or a comment. This has been TLSG. Later, guys.